Woo-wah good, Hoyo bad. That's a wrap, guys. Absolute cinema. Now shower me in subscribers like you did for the 61 other creators before me who had the exact same cold takes as me. In previous videos, I have frequently talked about how Hoyoverse's constant failures to keep its wider player base satisfied with their content offerings has resulted in an ever-growing group whom have made it their mission to prop up one particular game as the champion who will usher all into a new, proper era of gacha game design. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the much larger collective of a community that supports Hoyoverse games as a whole, whom either hold their own games in such a high regard, or simply don't share the same concerns as the Kurobots, and therefore cannot empathize with their frustrations. Regardless of the truth, or even the majority opinion, there's a very clear incentive of viewership and analytics from picking a side and sticking with it. Lately, we've been seeing the backlash of what happens when someone tries to speak up and are subsequently eaten alive by their own group in the process. But what about the rest of us whom don't land on one side or the other, maybe even representing a completely separate game entirely? Well, first off, you probably haven't even heard of us. Limbus Company, Wizardry, Infinity Nikki, Nikkei Goddess of Victory, Etheria Restart, Girls Frontline 2, we're all here and also part of this newer generation of gacha gaming, yet the wider gaming community has not bothered to give us a moment of their attention. No matter how many times people like Tectone or Gacha Smack try to prop up these smaller titles that aren't trying to dangle the sparkling keys of open world exploration in front of everyone's face, it never seems to go anywhere. So imagine for a moment what it's like for someone without the recognition of over 100,000 subscribers and a dedicated online presence is going to fare. This new mainstream gacha space has effectively succeeded in creating an environment where the only games worth talking about can only be Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, and only those who will act as direct competition for the above are worthy of attention. Attempting to approach either one with a more nuanced, complex take often goes nowhere as everyone is far too entrenched in their one side, while supporting another game altogether doesn't even register to these people. I actually don't have much of a problem with the creators themselves that perpetuate this dynamic. They're simply doing what's necessary for the success of their channels, and going to war just so happens to be their avenue of success, regardless of the fact that it's the same points talked about over and over and over again. The issue lies with the viewers whom support this behavior with their engagement. Everyone loves to talk about how bad tribalism and content creator drama is, yet are nowhere to be found when the very content they ask for gets produced. Meanwhile, the content they talk about being bad or unhealthy for the environment is showered in praise and views. And even if they do happen to watch and support said content, they fail to recognize that if they want the landscape to change, they need to take a more active role in creating the very ecosystem they talk about wanting for the content creation space. My most successful video to this day, the Saint Tontas critique, while being the most nuanced video I've ever produced, is my most popular video because it gets a lot of traction whenever Saint's content riles people up, not because of what I actually had to say in the video. All it takes is to look at the comments section to prove my point. Beyond that, only my Ellen Joe video comes the closest while being an almost exclusively positive video for the space. Most everything else that hasn't stopped below 5,000 views is some hot button issue or an outlet that many use to perpetuate the never-ending tribalism. This goes for my privated content as well. Now, of course, I will continue to make whatever I please, and I'm not too concerned with how successful it is. However, I would be lying if I was saying it's not incredibly alluring to reach for that easy topic that would net a lot of viewers. While I've said frequently that I have no intent to monetize my content, I still put in a ton of hours into making these videos, and the support goes a long way into motivating me to keep coming up with new and diverse topics. This frankly goes for anyone making content on YouTube, monetized or not. If you're watching a smaller creator, not just me, any smaller creator, remember that your contributions can have a positive effect on their work ethic and determination. And if you're someone who takes issue with the creator's takes and goes out of their way to express that opinion, remember that you still count as a view either way, and contribute to their opinions reaching a wider audience. Support opinions you agree with by watching their content and spreading their channel's name. Protest against people you disagree with by not clicking on their videos and keeping their presence out of external discussions. Only when enough people do these very things will you see said shift in content creation that they idealize so much. But until then, this has been Arikado Zodan, and I'm clocking out.